I couldn't believe my eyes when our HOA president Karen dialed 911 right there in the middle of the busy bowling alley. The air was thick with the smell of buttery popcorn and the sharp sting of disinfectant from the rental shoes. My two kids had been laughing and high-fiving after every strike like any normal Saturday outing should be. But Karen decided their innocent fun was a full-blown public disturbance that demanded immediate police intervention. I had survived 3 years of her nonsense in Willow Creek Estates, the typical American suburb with its perfect lawns and stricter rules. She ran the HOA board like a personal dictatorship and thrived on the tiny power it handed her every single day. Her violation notices piled up on my kitchen counter for everything from my mailbox color to the exact placement of my trash bins. I always answered her emails with calm politeness while biting back the sarcasm that threatened to spill out. That Saturday I had brought my family to the local Boarama to escape the constant HOA pressure for a few hours. The lanes glowed under bright fluorescent lights, and the thunder of crashing pins mixed with cheerful family chatter everywhere. I spotted Karen a few lanes over sipping a soda with her usual prim posture and judgmental stare. Everything stayed peaceful until the kids got excited after a big strike and cheered a little louder than usual. Karen shot up from her seat, her face flushing red as she marched straight toward the group of children. "These kids are out of control and this noise violates every community standard we hold dear," she declared loudly. I stood there stunned, watching her try to enforce HOA rules inside a public bowling alley she had zero authority over. My heart pounded hard against my ribs, but I forced myself to stay calm and collected on the outside. She stormed up to the front counter where Linda, the longtime manager, was calmly helping another family with their shoes. "I demand you remove these disruptive children right now, or I will make sure this place pays the price," Karen snapped. Linda kept her voice steady and professional, her expression showing quiet exasperation at the growing scene. "Ma'am, these children are not breaking any laws and this is a family-friendly venue for everyone to enjoy," Linda explained firmly. Karen ignored every word of reason and dramatically pulled out her phone with exaggerated self-importance. "I am calling 911 this instant because this chaos cannot be tolerated in our community," she announced to the entire alley. I quickly slipped my phone out and started recording discreetly because I knew her meltdown was only getting started. Her conversation with the dispatcher dripped with wild exaggerations about unruly kids and negligent staff members. The children huddled closer to me, their little faces filled with confusion and fear from the sudden adult shouting. I stepped forward, keeping my tone even, and said, "Karen, this is not an HOA meeting and everyone is just having fun." She whirled on me with pure venom in her eyes, accusing me of undermining every rule in the neighborhood. "You always encourage this kind of behavior just to spite the board," she hissed, her voice full of fake outrage. The other families had stopped bowling entirely and now whispered among themselves while staring at the unfolding spectacle. Linda tried one last time to de-escalate, asking Karen politely yet firmly to lower her voice or step outside. The tension hung thick in the air like the heavy scent of lane wax and anticipation of what would happen next. When the two police officers finally walked in, they looked more amused than concerned by the reported emergency. They listened patiently to Karen's rant about moral decay and community standards being destroyed in one afternoon. Then they turned to Linda and me for the real story of what had actually taken place that day. I offered my phone with the full video, which captured every shrill word and wild gesture in perfect detail. The officers quickly decided no laws had been broken and suggested Karen leave the premises before things worsened. She stormed out, slamming the glass door behind her while muttering threats about lawsuits and neighborhood boycotts. The alley slowly returned to its joyful rhythm, but I knew the real battle was just shifting back to HOA territory. The next morning, her accusatory email blasted the entire neighborhood, claiming I had instigated the entire bowling alley chaos. She demanded an emergency board meeting to discuss my conduct and the need for disciplinary action against me. I read it with a mix of anger and dark amusement at how far she was willing to stretch the truth. But I had already saved the complete, unedited video and quietly forwarded copies to the other board members I trusted. The footage spread like wildfire through private chats as residents watched her unhinged performance in stunned silence. Many longtime neighbors who had endured her petty fines and nasty letters finally saw the truth about her leadership. The emergency meeting room felt electric with tension when Karen took her usual seat at the head of the table looking smug. She presented her version of events with more dramatic claims about my supposed role in corrupting the youth. When I asked to play the short clip, the entire board fell into complete, uncomfortable silence as the video rolled. Her own shrill voice filled the room, exposing every ridiculous accusation and unnecessary 911 call for what it was. I spoke up calmly, pointing out how her public tantrum had damaged the reputation of the whole HOA board. The other members exchanged uneasy glances, realizing this was the final straw after years of her overreaches. The vote to remove her as president happened swiftly and unanimously, with no room left for debate or denial. Karen's face drained of color as she sputtered weak protests, but the decision stood firm and immediate. She gathered her papers and walked out of the room with her head high, but her power completely shattered. The neighborhood group chat exploded with messages of relief and quiet celebration from people who had suffered under her rule. Linda, the bowling alley manager, reached out the next day to thank me personally for helping keep things from escalating further. She mentioned Karen had tried posting negative reviews online, but the staff deleted them and moved on quickly. Life in Willow Creek Estates settled into a calmer, quieter rhythm without the constant shadow of frivolous complaints. Kids played freely in the streets and yards without worrying about sudden violation notices for minor things. I still smile every time I drive past the bowling alley, remembering how one afternoon of fun triggered real justice. It is darkly funny how the woman obsessed with enforcing rules ended up breaking every standard of basic decency herself. In the end, the downfall came not from lawyers or big fines, but from a simple smartphone video and common sense. Our suburb feels freer and lighter now that her tiny reign of suburban terror has finally come to a close. Sometimes the smallest power trips expose the biggest truths about people who crave control above all else. And I sleep better at night knowing the neighborhood can finally breathe without her watching every single move.